So, Lauren, what a pleasure it is to have you. Thank you so much for taking the time to being a part of our Community of Practice channel here on YouTube. And on behalf of SETSI, we want to thank you for your leadership today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Awesome. So, as always, we begin by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on. We also acknowledge our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all the elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So, if we can please do us the honors by introducing yourself to our listeners and viewers and tell us about your amazing work.
First, thank you for inviting me here into this space. I'm truly honored to share my work with you and also alongside so many incredible people who are committed to social change. A little bit about me. My name is Lauren McNamara. I'm a learning scientist at the Diversity Institute at Toronto Metropolitan University. And I currently lead a new initiative called Schoolyards for Thought. We partner with education leaders and community organizations to rethink how we design, how we support, and how we even imagine our schoolyards. And that's what I want to highlight today. To give you a bit of background context, my research has always focused on school engagement and well-being. In other words, I wanted to know what motivates children to want to be at school and what motivates them to want to do well when they're there. And interestingly, that path led me somewhere unexpected to the schoolyard, and in particular to recess. And it has now been my focus for over 20 years. In the beginning, in graduate school, early on, I saw something that concerned me. It was such high levels of social conflict and exclusion during recess. And I realized these moments for those kids were a major driver of disengagement in school. And we've long known this. If a child is being bullied or rejected or excluded at recess, it can be so painful that they simply don't want to get up in the morning and go to school. In that moment, to them, math and reading are not a priority, right? Finding ways not to go to school becomes the priority. So, in thinking about that, before I go on, I would like to take a few minutes to give you some context about me and tell you a story that shapes how I approach my research and also the urgency I feel in making change. First, I'm a mom of two beautiful boys who are somehow already 19 and 22, so not really boys anymore. And being a parent has changed the way I see just how important childhood is and how much of the context school matters. I mean, after all, it's the place where we spend most of our childhood. But also what I want to share is something that shaped my work, something that happened when I was little. When I turned 6, my parents hosted my birthday party at a roller rink. Some of you might remember those places, the disco ball, the Bee Gees, the skate dancing. And at one point in the evening, the DJ turned off the music, turned off the lights, and he called out to the birthday girl, who was me, and he cheered me on to skate into the middle of the rink so everyone in the entire place could sing happy birthday. And he said I'd get a ticket for a free hot dog. And then he turned on the spotlight right in the middle of the rink. But I was terrified. I was too shy, too scared. So I grabbed my friends. They were excited, and so we linked arms and skating together in the dark towards the spotlight. But someone tripped. And in the dark, we all went down. Our arms were still linked together, and we fell over like a fence. And I couldn't break my fall because our arms were together. And I hit the back of my head. And at the moment, I just ignored the pain. I got back up, we linked arms again, and we continued on into the spotlight. And other than the cake and the presents and the free hot dog, I don't remember much of the night. But over the next few days, I learned that that fall had caused a head injury, and that head injury caused me to lose 85% of my hearing. So the following week, I was fitted with these 2 hearing aids, which to me at age 6 seemed big and clunky, and I hid them under my hair. But they also felt like such a great solution because now I could hear again, not nearly as well, but I didn't really care. I just wanted to go back to school and see my friends. And so when I finally returned to school, I was so excited to see them. And at recess, I ran up to them and they ran up to me. And when we met, one of them said, "We've decided we want our presents back." And I thought I must have heard them wrong. But then the younger girl standing behind them started chanting, "Deaf girl, deaf girl." And that moment defined my entire school experience. Every single day, I was banned from friends and banned from play. And the adults just waved it off, sticks and stones. So I spent most recesses alone, hiding behind the C building, right? Math didn't matter, science didn't matter. Every single day became so difficult that I eventually dropped out of school in grade 9. That experience colored everything, my world, my research, my parenting, my entire life moving forward. And I somehow, with a lot of help, was able to bypass high school and enter university at a very young age. And I went on to study education and innovation, essentially school change. And through my research, I learned I wasn't alone. There are so many children who are experiencing something similar during recess. And the numbers are quite high. They're averaging 30% of students being bullied, sometimes to all of the time, which is an important thing to say. These kids say that the best part of recess is when it's over. And researchers all over the world have been studying this space. We now have evidence, strong evidence, linking that what happens during recess is directly tied to school engagement, for better or for worse. And most people I talk to find this obvious. We were all kids once. We all know recess is an important social space. But for the kids who are bullied, who are excluded, or who are stuck in barren, uninviting spaces, recess can become a place of fear and trauma. And that compromises their learning. It compromises their well-being. It compromises their mental health. So I started an action research partnership between universities and elementary schools across Ontario. And over the years of trial and error, and by really listening to the kids, we learned so much about how to make recess more inviting. And the students named it the Recess Project, which I love. And everything we've learned, all of our resources, including a national position paper, are freely available at recessprojectcanada.com. So after focusing for so long on the social space, I couldn't ignore the built environment. That's when I expanded my work into what is now called Schoolyards for Thought. And the idea is that most schoolyards are designed according to outdated standards that prioritize safety and liability and cost at the expense of equity and children's health. And in many schools, particularly those in under-resourced communities, the schoolyards are so dismal. They're mostly asphalt, they're mostly stripped of any kind of life. And the older play structures are removed when they no longer meet safety codes, but they're rarely replaced. And here's something that a lot of people don't realize. Funds for schoolyard play spaces and equipment is usually the responsibility of individual school councils, not system-wide investments. And to me, that's a huge equity issue. So schools without the resources to enrich their schoolyards means they get little to no equipment, little to no sports facilities, no exciting green areas, play spaces, essentially barren. And we know that design and behavior go hand in hand. Poor design almost always leads to poor social behavior. So at recess, that can translate to high rates of bullying, social conflict, boredom, anxiety, and loneliness. And the number of students, for example, who report boredom is over 60%. 40% of students report feeling anxious and lonely. And again, this is sometimes to all of the time. So these are really significant numbers. So the goal of Schoolyards for Thought is to leverage this research and drive systems change to bring life, engagement, and equity to the schoolyards. We're facing a real mental health crisis among children and teens right now, and access to inclusive and engaging outdoor spaces for play and social connection is more important than ever. The communities that face the greatest health disparities are often the same ones with the least access to quality parks and playgrounds and sports facilities. So going forward, anyone who wants to engage in this work with us, the invitation is wide open.
Wow, wow, wow. What a powerful, powerful experience that you experienced in your young life to this point. I commend you for your strength and your courage, what you've gone through. It's definitely not easy as a young child growing up and going through that physical trauma to now have to go through an emotional trauma with the same people that you called your friends, and so that's a lot of yeah, that's a lot of pain points there. But I can relate to your story. I can definitely relate to your story. It's funny, when I was 6, I actually got into an accident. I was visiting family in Jamaica, and this man, he didn't have brakes on his bike. And so I was running with my cousins, and hills in the country of Jamaica is like this. So we're running down, and then this man came with his bike, no brakes, and rolled right over me. I went flying, teeth knocked out. I mean, oh man, it was an absolute nightmare for me. And growing up and going through that and having to do so much dental work at that time. And it's just been a mess. But we carry on. But man, how you transform your pain into a passion, where now you see how important it is to now construct something that will change the mindset and the feeling and the energy of children at play at school. And it's so important. I mean, here I am. As you see, I'm a Black woman, but was a Black child that also went through racism in school, not only with the children, but the teachers. From the teachers, and I'm sure we're same age, or you're probably younger than me, but I also went through, oh, sticks and stones. Oh, don't worry. Even my own parents. Oh, don't worry about it. It's just nothing. And it was something, you know? And so, my goodness, what a beautiful, uh, you know, like flower this has become.
Wow.
So, man, okay. So if I was to ask you, like, what are the challenges and barriers that you faced in your work thus far, and how have you overcome them or in the process of overcoming them?
Um, First, let me say, uh, thank you for sharing your story. I think the more that we talk about it, the more people will hear our stories and the more people will share their stories. And I think that may trickle down to the children as well. So they will start to talk about it because I really didn't talk to anyone about it, right? Until I got older. So I think uh, I thank you for sharing yours with me. And I'm happy to see uh, where it's taken you as well. So as far as challenges and barriers, um, there are two big challenges that rise to the top for me. The first one is a societal issue. There's too many people still see recess and schoolyards as extra, somewhat of an afterthought compared to the serious business of learning. We've become as a society so obsessed with test scores and instructional minutes and homework as if squeezing out every drop of academic time will guarantee better results. But decades of research tell a different story. It's more play, not less, actually leads to stronger learning outcomes. And I know this both as a researcher and someone who's experienced the before and the after when that social connection is stripped away. And again, adults wave it away. But for me, recess went from being the best part of the day to the saddest part of the day. And that experience taught me how damaging it can be when the schools don't meet children's basic needs for belonging and play, and how easily those needs are dismissed as optional. No, don't get me wrong. I have a PhD in education, so I'm not dismissing instruction. Far from it. I'm simply saying that we don't have to make kids miserable to educate them. Children need play and they need social connection. And when those needs are met, they thrive academically. It's a basic needs equation, just like food and hunger. It's hard to pay attention and concentrate when you're starving. And to me, in many ways, recess may be one of the most important parts of the school day. And I mean, kids themselves have been saying this for generations, yet somewhere along the way, as adults, we begin to trivialize it. And so changing that mindset through sharing research, through amplifying student voices, our own experiences, I think is one of the most powerful levers for change that we have. The second challenge that I think of is this. Our approach to recess is reactive when it should be preventive and strategic. Hence our name, Schoolyards for Thought. So despite the fact that it's one of the most challenging and potentially transformative parts of the day, recess is often an afterthought, and I really investigated why. I found a few things that are challenging. The first is a lack of policy and leadership direction, the lack of funding for training and for staffing, and a lingering cultural misunderstanding of play's importance. And until recently, a lack of research to guide the best practices. But now we have that research. We know what works. We know well-designed spaces work, trained staff, and policies that protect and prioritize play and treat recess not as a break from learning, but as a powerful driver of learning.
Yes. Oh man, it is so vital. And you see the interconnectedness of teacher, children, parents. I mean, it's so multi-leveled, and everybody needs to be on board with what you are doing and your thoughts. because it can be where there's some discrepancy. Well, I don't see the big deal, you know it's a, oh, I grew up in a regular playground, what's the big deal? I don't, so you're going to get those combative behaviors that will come either from the school side or from the parents side. But how you're showing the importance of it, and really taking the uh the key element, which is children. I'm a grandmother of two, and my grandbaby is an absolute genius. And I'm not just saying because she's my grandmother. She's two, and she's speaking the level of a 5, 6 year old. So somebody like her, she can't, just being in a regular place. No, the what you are creating, I'm waiting for it. I'm like, just send me the address. I'm sending her right there. Like, I already know she will absolutely thrive in an environment that you're creating. So yes, this is fabulous. All right, so Lauren, what are your key priorities at this time, and anything that you'd like to amplify in your work?
Yes, there are 6 main areas that we are concentrating on. The first is tackling schoolyard inequities, right? We want to ensure that all children, especially those in under-resourced communities, have access to healthy schoolyards. The second key priority is to ensure policy changes that prioritize recess and schoolyard quality at all levels of education leadership. And our third priority is sharing that knowledge. We continue to highlight the impact that both the quantity and the quality of recess and play have on children's health. And our fourth priority is we want to ensure that schoolyard designs consider environmental sustainability. We want to make sure that all children have access to nature, as well as make sure we include efforts to mitigate climate change. The fifth priority that we have is to focus on professional development, the training of educators, of supervisors, and school staff so that they can support play effectively. And finally, our sixth priority is a focus on thoughtful schoolyard design. We want to consider both the physical environment and the social environment, which means schoolyards are designed to offer a continuum of options that invite inclusive play, that invite challenge, connection, sport, exploration, and environmental sustainability. So those are our 6 priorities. Our efforts are designed to be systemic, to address the social, the cultural, and the institutional barriers that can slow change or speed change. And so we are continuing to build local and national partnerships. Meanwhile, we actively encourage investments in schoolyards, especially those in under-resourced communities.
Very good, very good. I commend all that you're doing. So if I could ask you, Laura, what does success look like to you?
I hope that in 100 years from now, people will look back and gasp when they see pictures of today's barren schoolyards. I'd like to see every school in Canada. I'd like to see them meet a higher baseline standard for their schoolyards. And to us, good schoolyard design includes 5 things, and including all of them would be an incredible success. And so these are the 5 design considerations that we encourage. The first is that the design considers all types, supporting all types of unstructured play, creative play, solo play, adventure play, active play, games. The second design consideration that we encourage is that the activities are diverse, or the space is diverse and challenging, and engaging, designed for a wide range of ages, abilities, preferences, right through high school. Third is we want these spaces to be designed and supported to ensure healthy social connections. The fourth is we want them to include multi-sport facilities. There are a lot of kids who don't access sport unless it's in school. And the last one is we want the space to be ecologically sustainability, right? Natural materials that the children can connect with, as well as mitigating climate change and offsetting our climate footprint.
Wow, very, very powerful. Lauren, this has been very eye-opening. I mean, as you're speaking, I'm just seeing just such a beautiful space for children to come and learn, and and like you said, learning should be fun. So that recess that we've had, since we were in childhood, can now still be a form of learning, but there's that visual aspect of it where there's still, you know what I mean, the pressure's not on in the school, you're outside, you're having fun, but you're still learning. And that is what we want for our children to develop well in this society. So my last question is just your closing thoughts and calls to actions at this time.
Yes, sure. In summary, uh, children's well-being is influenced by the ways that we invest in and value play and social connection. I think overall that's a really good summary. And by addressing inequities, by addressing policy change, by investing in professional development and designing schoolyards well, we can transform this space from an afterthought to a potential cornerstone of education. And last, the invitation is always open to everyone, education leaders, philanthropy, educators, policymakers, community members, to help us make this happen.
Well, let me tell you, on behalf of SETSI, we thank you so much for today. I'm very, very touched by your story, and I want to give you lots of encouragement and strength, and just the will to keep going and really changing the course of how our children are in these institutions and how the dynamics of their learning and how they can socially come together and really build a better world, because it really starts from them, planting that seed in them and making them grow into, you know, socially balanced children. That's what we're looking for. So Lauren, again, on behalf of SETSI, we thank you so much for your leadership for today.
Thank you. It's a delight to talk with you today.
You too. So we will close the way that we began by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on. We also acknowledge our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all the elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So Lauren, I'm sure it's not goodbye, it's a see you later. We'll definitely be collaborating in the near future.
Sure. See you later.
All right, take care, dear. Thanks.